Welcome to Business Video Chat, the series where I really need to get a better name but can't think of one. This week I'm joined by Martin Whiskin, who is a professional voiceover artist. Hello, Martin.
Hello, David. How are you?
I'm good. It's exciting times at the moment. How about you?
Yeah, no, I think I put on a voiceover voice straight away then when I said hello, and that's not what I talk like normally. Yeah, not too bad at all. Busy with meetings and networking and all that sort of stuff, so trying to keep things moving.
Yeah, no, it seems like things are starting to open up a bit now, so now's the time when we really need to get to work and get connecting with people.
I think that's right, and I've noticed actually on this morning and last week's Chamber of Commerce networking, there seems to be about 20 or 30 more people than there has been in previous weeks. So I think everyone's starting to realise that now, thinking, right, I better get on it before it's too late.
Yeah, it's that turning point. So how long have you been a voiceover artist? Well,
my website went live January 2 years ago, so 2019. And I was obviously training before that, but I wasn't ready to get out there and market myself. So really professionally 2 years, full-time a bit less than that, because obviously straight away I wasn't getting all the jobs. I'm still not getting all the jobs, but I'm getting a lot more jobs. And yeah, training before that, probably 6 months to a year, just because I wanted to make sure I was good enough to do it before stepping out there and launching my website. There's no point in having a website if I was no good. Had to discover that first. So yeah, really just over 2 years now.
That's really good to hear, because I get the impression from some of the people I speak to, some of the voiceover artists, that they'll buy a microphone, they think they got a nice voice, so they're a voiceover artist. So it's good to hear that you put the training in. I know you've built yourself a nice studio, as we were talking about before, a nice booth. So it's good to hear that you've actually properly trained in it, so you are a professional rather than just someone with a microphone.
I wanted to make sure, like I said, I was ready, and also that I thought that I could do it as well, because I'd never done anything like this before I got into it. So I just needed that self-reassurance almost. Spend that time figuring it out, getting advice from pros and mentoring and that sort of stuff, so that they could tell me and help me along the way if I was going to be good enough, or if I should just, forget about it. But there's definitely, and especially now actually since lockdown, a lot more people doing what you say, getting a USB mic or whatever. Some people just on their phones and saying, I can do it, I'll do it for you. And it doesn't affect top professionals, obviously, because there's a huge difference in quality, but there's a lot more people saying they are voiceover artists now, I think is the way to look at it.
Yeah, we'll get onto that more in a bit. So there's a couple of reasons I wanted to talk to you. The second, which we'll get to later, is because you're a voiceover artist, and obviously with a lot of video work it's good to have voiceover. But the first reason I want to talk to you is because of the video content that you've been putting out. So what was your purpose for doing the videos? Because they're sort of educational in a way that it's not for people to learn from and copy. It's to give them an idea of what it is that you do. So why are you doing it, and what do you want it to do for you?
I think I've always had too many creative bones in my body, and I always need some way to be making something. And obviously I get that a lot with voiceover and editing and all that sort of stuff. So the first thing was I like making silly videos before, never really done anything with them, always had a good laugh with it. And I just thought, how can I use it to my benefit? And especially on LinkedIn, because that's where I'm doing, all of my social networking now. Mm-hmm. And I just thought something that's related to voiceover, obviously, because that's what I'm doing. So anything that can almost subliminally get a message across that I do voiceover, and even if it's just how I do warm-ups, that sort of thing. I started off scripting them and I found it too rigid. So I stopped scripting them, just had bullet points, and it's just sort of on the fly. So I find that helps to get my personality across. And that's what I really wanted, was for people to know who I am. So if anyone ever comes to me with a request for a quote or anything like that, they might have seen me before and know who they're going to deal with, rather than just my little Avi on the screen and words I say. I want people to know who I am. I don't want to give a false impression, I think. So that's why they're a bit less than straight, shall we say.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, I was saying to you before, like, I've got a stupid sense of humour and I struggle to get that in my videos because I edit it out because I think, oh no, that's just too stupid. So how, is there like a filter that you have of just like, okay, this is me, I'm going to let it go? Or is it a battle for you to let that humour out?
I think I can probably blame my dad and one of my uncles who were just all the time growing up, just constantly cracking jokes at literally everything. For my whole of my life, so 40 something years, my dad will crack a joke at everything, and that's where it's come from, I think. I've always liked comedy, and I don't want to sound like pretentious, but it sort of comes naturally to me just to mess around because that's what I grew up around. And like I said just now, I did script them, but it didn't feel as natural of just sort of ad-libbing and almost like just improvising by myself. And admittedly, some of the videos will have 15 takes before I hit on something that I think that's funny and educational. But other times the first take and it's like, yeah, that'll do. That's pretty good. So it's just me. That's how I am. I like to do ridiculous things within reason, and just, I guess, entertain. Because
one of the biggest things with video is letting your personality come across like you do, because people buy into you rather than buying into your business. That's like the way it is. So was it, as soon as you stopped doing scripting, was it something that just came out, or was it something that you needed to work at?
That's a good question. I think because there's a part of voiceover that is called like a conversational style. And that's where you have a script still, and you have to stick to that script, but you can throw in bits of what's called humanization. So you're sort of, pausing and adding in extra words. And I think that really helped. So I'd done the sort of thing where it was thinking on my feet what I can throw in here and there. And as long as I knew what the video was going to be about, I would have some ideas in my head first, and as long as I hit those bullet points, generally whatever I said, whatever came out would stay. There's very little chopping chunks out. I hope I'm answering your questions properly, because I tend to waffle and then get away and forget what the question was.
So is this how you film your videos? Like you say, sometimes it takes a take, sometimes it takes 15. You just get in there and you waffle a bit until you find something you like.
Yeah, beforehand, I do have, like I said, ideas of what I want specifically in the video. I will think, yeah, get that line in there, get that joke in there, and that sort of thing. And I will specifically remember to get those in. But yeah, I just like to keep it really relaxed and loose, because it comes across so much more naturally. And that's who I am, A
couple of questions. One is, like, do you have a schedule that you want to get your videos out on, like one a week? And roughly, I know you said it depends, but roughly how long does it take you to create these? Because they're generally 1 to 2 minute videos.
I mean, the production values are obviously very low. So in terms of the time, where I'm doing a lot of takes, it could be a couple of hours. But on a good day, it will be in the booth to record, because I like to obviously record it with the mic properly, an hour, because it's just, all one shot of me in the booth, really. And then edit the main part is editing the audio, just to make sure that sounds good, because if that doesn't sound good, I don't sound like a good voiceover artist. So yeah, that's important. So that was the time. What was the previous question?
Do you have a content release schedule?
That's it. I was just testing that you remembered as well.
I struggled, mate.
I wanted to do it every Friday and make it like Fun Friday. Not a very good name, but that's all I could think of, and it was an actual hashtag as well. So I thought I'd jump on that. But I have slowed down just because I've been too busy to do it, really. But there will be one tomorrow, which I'm happy about. So yeah, quite excited.
Well, this video is going to go out next Thursday. So will you have one next Thursday?
Possibly. That's a test. If not, just take a look back at the one from...
There's plenty to look back at, yeah. I mean, obviously you've got the overarching goal of letting people get to know you and trust you and hear what you do before they get in touch. But do you, it's okay if you don't, but do you have any goals of, I want to reach this many people with this new video, or get this much interest, book this many meetings in?
On a purely sort of likes and comments sort of thought train, it would be great to get, I know LinkedIn is a different beast to other platforms, but I guess 100 likes or comments is a nice number, just because I think once you get to a certain limit, LinkedIn will start to push it into the algorithm a bit more. At least that's what I've heard. Yeah, and I think people coming to me because they want to work with me because they've seen my personality, and obviously they will need to have heard the voiceover as well. But I think really I want people to buy me, and then it helps that I can do voiceover, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen a growth since you've been started doing them, so that each post is getting a little bit more engagement?
Certainly now. Yeah, I went through the other day, and it's still not lots, but I think on LinkedIn it was 800 views, I think, on one of them. So that's, that I'm happy with that. But I find LinkedIn quite strange sometimes. You can post something and get lots and lots of interaction. The next day you post something and you get 2 likes and 0 comments. And I think a lot of it depends on, well, obviously the content, what it is. If people want to see videos on all the time from me, they're not going to get it because I haven't got time to do it. And what time you post it, who's online at the time. There's just too many factors to. And
how much you've been engaging with other people's posts beforehand. And there's lots that goes into it.
Yeah, tonight, before the release tomorrow, I need to blitz everyone with comments and likes tonight, and in the hope they reciprocate tomorrow.
I think video on LinkedIn is really good because, well, if you don't post to an external site, because that will limit you, but video on LinkedIn is really good because people are doing a bit, but not massively. So one, LinkedIn's going to push you out a bit more than if it's a text or an image post, and 2, it stands out in the timeline a bit because it auto plays, and people aren't used to seeing video content as much on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's right. I like how it's strange because on Facebook, if something auto plays, I don't like it. But on LinkedIn, if something starts auto playing, I will stop and watch it. It's a strange one. I think purely because I'm so much more invested in LinkedIn. I was dubious of it to start with. Took me a long time to really, get cracking on it. But now I think it's a very worthwhile platform.
Yeah, it is really good. So let's move into what you do. And the first thing, we spoke about it a bit earlier, is you can go on a site like Fiverr and you can pay £10 for a voiceover. What is the difference, or the main differences between what they're offering and what you offer as a professional service?
There's probably quite a few different things. The first thing that springs to mind is I like to think off of platforms like that, it's much more personal. So I could do a Zoom call with you, do a phone call when the time allows, meet up. But on platforms like that, it's all just digital. There's no connection with, so you're getting the pre-sale care during and after the whole thing. So it's just much more, the personal and the caring touch, I guess, that's really important. Quality, I think, although, don't get me wrong, there are lots and lots of very good voiceover artists on all different platforms, but there'll be thousands of them and you need to find them. And quality, I think, if you go to a professional voiceover website and you listen to their demos, you'll hear exactly what you're going to get. Rather than listening to past jobs, what people have done, you can hear what they can record, their voice, everything. And I just think the studio quality is incomparable. Not that people on these websites don't have decent studios, but a lot of them won't. I've even witnessed people selling, what's it called, like the AI voiceover, but it's literally, if you have the narrator on your computer and you type it in and it speaks it, they sell that as a voiceover. And that's, to me, that's just, anyway. So the quality thing, you'll get, the way to look at it is guaranteed quality. I think
it's interesting. Something you said there is actually mirrored by something that I put in one of my YouTube videos, is either this week or last week. If you go to somewhere like Fiverr, like Upwork or something like this, you go, right, I want these words saying and I want it saying in this style. And then the person will go, yep, okay, here you go, it's done. Whereas if you come to a professional, if you're paying a bit more, you'd have that conversation first of this is what we're going for, this is the type of feeling that we want in the video, and then you can say, okay, I think this type of voice would work better for that. So you're giving your professional opinion rather than just being asked to do a job and then doing it as it's said.
Yeah, precisely. I had a conversation on Zoom a couple of weeks ago with someone who needed a voice for their explainer, and he showed me it whilst we were on there. And I said, right, so I think you want it like this and this, and I gave a couple of like keywords of how I thought the voice should be, and he said, yeah, and this as well. So it's like a more collaborative thing and instant as well, you know, because we were doing that call. One of the main things with voiceover is the human connection, and that goes with the audience and the client. You know, they need to, like I keep banging on about, know who you are and know that you can do that connection. And if you talk to them beforehand, chances are they'll realize that.
I think we've spoken about this before, but no one else would have heard it, so it's fine. But I struggle with, I mean, I've had it happen recently where I look at a video that someone else has done and everyone's going, great video, oh, this is awesome, great video. And I'm looking at it and I think, it looks absolutely terrible. Mm-hmm. So my thinking is it they're being nice and just supporting someone, or is it me thinking that most people don't know the difference between qualities? Do you find that same thing in the voiceover field?
Yeah, and it started when I used to be in bands as well. So I played bass for a while, and all I could listen to when I listened to a song was the bass. And it took me years to get out of that habit before I could listen to music properly again, to not pick out individual bits that were, you know, relevant to what I was doing at the time. And it's now the same with voiceover. Before, voiceover was just there and I'll watch an advert and think, oh, you know, I might buy those slippers or whatever it was for. But now it'll be, well, he didn't quite pronounce that how I would have done it. I would have gone up here or down there. And I don't like getting into saying it's not a good voiceover, but sometimes the quality on things that I hear could be better, shall we say.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's almost a curse. I think I'd like to be able to watch telly without just listening for voiceovers all the time.
But do you think the general public can tell the difference, or is it something that they probably do know the difference, but it only really leaps out of them at them when they hear it done right?
Yeah, I think it's a subconscious thing. Like, one of the things I learned was if a voiceover isn't right for the piece, just say a TV commercial, for example, the audience won't maybe understand what is wrong with the advert. If it's the voiceover isn't the right tone for the piece of music, for example, they'll just watch it and think that advert felt a bit weird, but they won't specifically be able to pull out what part was weird. Whereas like you with the videos, you know, it's the same. You'll watch a bit and be like, yeah, that didn't quite work. And it's the same. So I think it's a subconscious thing, and they can't quite, I'm generalizing everyone. I might be completely wrong.
I mean, I think
I'll put the comments in below and see what people think.
Yeah, I think it's something we both struggle with, though, isn't it? Because we're fighting against people who just go, I'll just get it done cheaply. And maybe that's something for us to move up past that. So we're working with the people that look more on value than on price. But it still is that struggle of how do you explain to someone that doesn't have technical knowledge in our field what the difference is when you pay a bit more?
There's a lot of things that go on before I will step into the box to record a script. I'll receive the script, sometimes get a bit of a brief, if not have a conversation with the person, see how they want it to come across, and sort of analyze the script, work out what they're trying to say behind those words. So rather than just take it at face value, yup, they're selling, you know, socks or whatever, see if there's anything that they're also trying to say, like this is the best deal you could ever get, or, you know, you'll love these forever, not just buy these socks.
Your feet will never be more comfortable.
Exactly. And it's, you know, you've got to have comfortable feet. So it's storytelling. So you're telling a story, rather, the phrase is telling, not selling. And that goes for, you know, like you probably know with video and that sort of stuff.
I haven't heard that saying, but I like that.
Okay. Telling, not selling. Yeah. So you're trying to make the audience understand the messages and the purpose behind the script as opposed to just reading it. So yeah, analyzing the script and working out the tone of voice to use, because obviously not everything is going to be, one size fits all, because it certainly doesn't. You don't want to advertise a funeral parlor with, an over the top bingo type voice, for example. It just wouldn't work. And like we were saying, I think that one would be a bit more obvious. People would know why that one was wrong. So yeah, it's all about analysing the script and working out what voice, trying a few different tones to see what will work, adding in the emotion, because you can sound happy and jolly, but if you might need to emphasise certain words to specifically get parts of it across more than others. And then into the booth, so I might spend half an hour checking through the script, sometimes a bit longer. Then in the booth, a couple of goes through it, make sure it all sounds good, and then editing afterwards. So it's not all just, a lot of people think it's just standing in front of a mic and talking, and it isn't. And whilst you're a couple of other things, professional. I keep looking that way because that's where the booth is, and I'm trying to recall what I do. Whilst you're voicing, the idea is that you picture who you're talking to, who the audience is. So one person. So if I was selling these socks, I might picture David Proud as the ideal customer for these socks, and it makes it like you're having a conversation with someone rather than just reading words off of a page. So it helps to lift it up a level. And also scanning ahead. So my eyes are always ahead of where my voice is, so that I know what's coming, and that helps to make it sound more natural as well.
That's really interesting, because obviously it's a lot more that goes into it than most people realise. I mean, as you said, most people probably think you get a script, go in your booth and record it, and then you're done. And the same applies to video production as well. It's not just turn up on the day, shoot it, and then do some editing. Obviously, you got to help with the scripts beforehand. You got to do all the pre-production to make sure that the location's right, that the type of video is right for the customer. And then obviously with editing, it's not just putting all the video clips together. You got to color balance everything. You need to find the right music that fits the video. You need to do graphics at the end of the video. So it's all these things that most people wouldn't realize, and it's finding a way to teach people what all these bits are. If someone's looking to get a voiceover artist, what's the best way of finding the right artist to fit the company?
Okay, so I mentioned earlier, I have written a blog about this, and I'm not going to read it off the screen. Research, I think, is a big part of it. Unless you know someone already, then you're likely to go and use someone you've used before. But I think a lot of research, because you need to find the quality. You need to have confidence in who you're looking for. So let's just say, for example, someone decides to search on Google for voiceover artists rather than going to an auditioning platform. Find some British male voiceover artists and literally visit their sites, find out what they've done, listen to their demos, make sure they can do it, and then get in touch with them and see if you can strike up some sort of relationship. Because sometimes it can feel cold. I'm sure you've come across cold people in business, and I prefer to work with people that I get along with, as everyone does. So make sure you get on with that person, because there's nothing worse than working with someone, or if someone didn't like me, heaven forbid, I don't know why they wouldn't. But then, it can get very difficult coming back. Don't like the way you read that. Right, I'll try it again. Still don't like it. And it can just go like that. So spend time beforehand researching who you want, and you'll get an idea from the demos and from the work they've done before if it suits your script. You won't get it nailed in. And a lot of voiceover artists offer like a free 30-second script read. So don't be afraid to ask for a sample of that script. Obviously, don't use it without permission, because that'll be very naughty. That's pretty much it, I think. Just research, do your pre-planning.
So a lot of it comes down to finding someone that you feel like you could work with well. Because I understand that I get revisions as well, and sometimes it's finding someone you can communicate with. Because if they'd say, I don't like this bit in the video, it doesn't really help me. We need to be able to find out why they don't like that bit, so we can change it so it's right. So in terms of listening to examples, we've spoken a bit about this, maybe if people can actually tell the difference between professional and cheap, but what are some key things for people to listen out for to give them confidence that they're dealing with a professional?
The first thing that comes to mind is, so the idea with voiceover demo reels is that in as short a time as possible, a voiceover artist should be able to display lots and lots of different styles and tones and emotions. And if they can do that, then you've got a good chance of them being able to get a tone for your script. You might find something on their demo reel that is exactly how you want it or how you think it should sound. But the chances are, because they've shown that huge range, that they'll be able to sort it out. So if you hear a demo where the voice is good, but it's the same sort of thing on every clip, to me, that wouldn't give me confidence, because it's just, like I said before, one size fits all. And it doesn't. It's not always going to be appropriate. So I think that's one of the main things.
So a bit of variation.
Yeah, and again, ask for a sample, because if there's not something quite there, that's the way of finding out. And that obviously helps both people. They can hear how their specific script will sound in a tone that perhaps isn't quite on the reel.
I guess with that example script, that example 30 seconds, it's not going to be something that you put lots of time into like you would when you're actually taking on the work. It's more, okay, this script, what sort of style do you want it in? And then you give them an example, or is it a bit more involved than that?
I'd still spend a bit of time on it. I wouldn't, because obviously I want the work afterwards. So, and sometimes what I have done before is I will do it as a normal job, record the whole thing, edit it, but only send them part of it. So if they then come back and say, yep, lovely, we'll have it, then I've already done it, and it just saves some time, just showing off my efficiency.
I bet they love that as well, though. Like suddenly go, oh, I've got the whole thing.
Yeah, it certainly helps. It's not a habit, certainly for really long scripts, because if it's like 3,000 words and I record it and they don't want it, it's a complete waste of time. But yeah, I'm really sorry, I've forgotten what the initial question was again.
It is about the example videos. Do you put as much work into beforehand?
Yeah, so I think in terms of analysing the script, yes, because I need to make sure that how I'm getting their script across is how they want to hear it. I don't want them to have any reason to turn around and say, sorry, it's not for us. But that does happen, of course, because they're asking other voiceover artists for similar stuff. But yeah, I think it's worth me doing that sort of thing, because it's helping, isn't it? So if it makes me look nice, I think.
Yeah, and it must be quite a fine balance, as you say, putting the right amount of time in, because you don't want to put loads of time in if your conversion rate is only 30% from doing it.
Sorry, yeah, in terms of like the editing process. So if, for example, there's a word where I think, oh, I could do that slightly better, on a free sample read, I might think that'll do. Whereas if it was for a paid job that I was, already signed up for, I would make sure it was as hot as it can be before sending it out.
This might just be for me personally, for my own geekiness, and other people might not care, but I'm interested. When you're doing your editing, you said, oh, that word's not right. How much would you need to re-record? Would it be like part of a sentence, whole sentence, paragraph?
Yeah, I'd definitely record the whole sentence, and sometimes just paste over the whole sentence. Sometimes if it's just that one word, I will just flip it in. Still record the whole sentence, because it will sound strange if I just go in the booth and go, I don't know, football.
Potatoes.
Yeah. be amazingly funny, but yeah, because you don't get the flow with it if you're just doing one word. So
it still amazes me though that you can, obviously you're recording a whole sentence, but then taking that word, that it doesn't sound like, so using potatoes as an example, so it doesn't turn out like, buy your potatoes from Morrison's when you edit it in.
Yeah, I think it's because when you're recording, when you're doing the voicing, I kind of get into the zone of how, because I'm playing characters really, no matter what the script is, I'm playing a character, and I'm thinking all these different thoughts of what this person is like. As soon as I step back in, that's who I am again. So that's how it comes out. And, hopefully my editing is good enough that no one would ever hear potatoes.
So do you have like multiple characters that are set in your brain, and then you're like, oh, this this script would be good for this character.
It's something I should have mentioned in one of the previous questions, actually, about how I sort of prepare for the scripts. When a script has a certain type of emotion, the best way that I can get into the zone for it is to take that emotion and think of something from my past that involved that emotion. So, for example, go back to the funeral director's one. Obviously, you want quite a somber, slow sort of read. I would probably think of a time that was quite sad in my past when I'd been at a funeral or something like that. And that mindset gets you. It's strange how it happens. It will definitely change the tone of your voice if you're thinking about something different. Characters is the word I use. So there are characters. I have 4 character pieces. I've got a folder up there of about 20 or 30 different voices that I can, and backstories to them and how they look and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of, say, a script for a new piece of software, all that means is that I have to pretend that I work for that company that owns that software. So I kind of get the words across sounding right, as if I know what I'm talking about as a member of their staff. So it's not, in that respect, it's not a character in the traditional sense. It's just, I'm not me. I'm a member of staff for whatever company I'm voicing for.
This has been absolutely fascinating, because I thought I knew a bit about voiceover, but clearly not a lot at all. So if people are trying to find you online, where's the best place to find you?
martinwhiskin.co.uk.
And what about your LinkedIn?
I have no idea what the URL is for that.
I'll put it in the description on YouTube.
I don't think there's any other Martin Whiskins, so just type that into LinkedIn.
What, in the world?
I don't think so. It's not a very common surname. Yeah. Last time I looked, there was like 160 or so of the surname.
You see, I'm unlucky. There's an actor called David Proud who's in EastEnders, so I'm never getting up to top of Google. I'm jealous. Yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been absolutely fantastic.
No worries. Thank you for having me. Loved it.
If you're not sure how much a video should cost for your business, then you need to watch this video here. If you need some tips on finding the right video production company so you have a good relationship, check this video here and click here to subscribe to catch our weekly videos all about growing your business using video marketing.